Okay, good evening and welcome to the March 1st, 2024 NRHS Wisconsin chapter meeting. I just want to say hello to everybody in Zoom, and we have quick count. We have 14 in the room. Yes, 14 in the room if my addition is correct. So 14 currently down here, and those that joined in person got a little extra treat. Someone who will remain nameless turns 60 next week, Tuesday. So there's a little treat down here. But so hopefully, I know some of them have partaken already. So, but so we're going to get started. I have a few announcements, good and unfortunate. So first, I'd like to just say a thank you to everybody that helped with the Madison show. We had a booth table at the Madison show, and we had a lot of help. Ward and Mike and the Wagners and Tom Hoffmann and several others were there helping. And the announced attendance, paid attendance, was 7,200 for the weekend. So if you add in a couple hundred volunteers, you're close to 7,500 people came to the Madison show. So that was a good show. The next show we have to consider being a part of would be Train Fest. And Train Fest this year is going to be downtown in Milwaukee at the Baird Center. And it's going to be a little bit later. And people have said, well, why is Train Fest going to be the week before Thanksgiving? Well, the reason is because of the election, because it's impossible to get advertising during the election. So otherwise, it's very expensive. So it'll be November 23rd and 24th. Uh, so that's something to consider and think about. So another thing to consider and think about is last year we didn't get a chance to do an event at East Troy at the Trolley Museum. So while I was at Madison with some other people, we were talking, and we've kind of come up with an idea that we're going to have a little event at the East Troy in August, and I want to tease it now. I know it's August. This is March, but it's going to come up quickly. And what we are talking about doing is on a Saturday, we would have a dinner train. It would be a full blown dinner train, so it would be uh, a little pricey. And if you wish to be on the dinner train, that's fine. And it would be followed by a night photo session. And that would feature some of the equipment from East Troy. We're looking at bringing out their electric motor. They may also have a new North Shore merchandise car done that we would use. So I'm just putting it out there as a tease that kind of plan end of August, August 24th ish, if you're looking to do that. And we would give you three options. You could do the dinner train, you could do the dinner train and the session, or just a night photo session. So we're looking at those. So, and a good way to be a part of those, and we would offer a discount for chapter members, would be to join the chapter. And our one of our board members, Dan Gridzolanik, is here. He's waving. You can't see him, but I can. He waved. He waved like this. So, uh, and he is here. He is accepting anybody in the room. He's accepting dues. We did actually have a member join tonight who's seated not too far from me and who I've known for a little while as working in the model railroad hobby. He's with the Sioux Line Historical Society, and Fred Furcus is our newest member here in the chapter. And so he's going to be here taking part with us in the meeting. And if you wish to join and are not part of the chapter, you can join. You can go to the website www.nrhswis.org, and you can join. You can click on the join and renew button. If you do it online, it's $21. If you do it in person or by check, it's 20. So that is one way to maybe and find out more about upcoming events, especially with the 75th anniversary coming up. So keep an eye out for that if you wish to join. So I do have one other announcement, or I'm not going to make the announcement. Another member is going to come up here and make an announcement regarding the passing of a NRHS chapter member. So he asked to come up here and make this announcement. So he's on his way up here.
I'm sorry to report that an old friend and a long-term member of this chapter has passed away, Jeff Haber. That he passed away last week on that, and I think we should say he was a member for 50 years on that. And many of you for 10 years at least received your Sparks and Cinders because he was one of the ones that put it together. That he assembled it, he mailed it, and I think it was at least 10 years on that. Jeff, of course, was interested in traction and he was interested in steam, and he also loved coming to this organization. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry to hear about Jeff. I met Jeff. He was on several of the photo charters with 1003 and others. So we'll have a moment of silence for in memory of Jeff. Thank you. Well, thank you for that. And that's sad news, and we'll put a little more about that into Sparks and Cinders. And I'm always looking for items for Sparks and Cinders. If you have things that you want to get in there, let me know. Email me, and I would like them. I actually have a little bit of comfort time. There would be due on March 15th, so that I can put the issue together and get it to you on time and get everything going. So, couple things. We have the rest of our year's schedule set up, and so next month, it's going to be Friday, April 5th, and it's Ed Kohler. And I see Ed in the room. Ed, can you maybe unmute and give us a little description of what you're going to be talking about next month?
Thank you very much, Keith. And I'll be presenting a tribute to the New York, Ontario and Western Railroad, which 57 years ago, coming March 29th, was shut down as a result of the bankruptcy court. The railroad has sort of legendary status, or even mythological status here in New York, probably like Omaha Road branch lines in Wisconsin. And I think you'll enjoy what you're going to see. Got a little video, got slides, and a touch of music or two.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Yeah, it should be interesting. So it'll be next Friday, April 5th. And then Friday, May 3rd, Paul Swanson will be here presenting. It's called Wondrous Wisconsin from Benton to Superior. And it's going to highlight photos from the collections of the Lake States Railway Historical Society that Paul's involved with. It'll be different photographers showing their shots of different areas of Wisconsin. And our final meeting in June 7th, Bill Edwards, he's going to present Railfan routes rail cars via roundout to resolve receiver's remorse. And wow, what an alliteration that is. Wow. And I managed to get through it without too much problem. So that will be Friday, June 7th, and then we will take our summer sabbatical and we will return in September with our members' favorite slide night. So, and again, if you want to be involved with these and keep up with this, please consider joining the organization. Again, it's easy to join. You can just go to the website, www.nrhswis.org, and you can click on the renew button and get renewed. So with that, I'm going to introduce our speaker for tonight. Tom Hoffmann. I've known Tom for a while. Tom is currently the librarian for Kalmbach Media, and he actually told me tonight that the person who will remain nameless, he's got 20 years on. So I met Tom through Operation Lifesaver. Tom is very involved with Wisconsin chapter of the Operation Lifesaver. He's an authorized volunteer. He does a lot of a lot of stuff with the high school students and driver's ed, and that. So that's how I know Tom. And Tom is going to give us a presentation, the longest running series in NRHS meetings, a look back, and he's going to look back at the year 2003. So we're going to get things set up, and then Tom is going to take over. So hold on and give me a minute or two.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity to do a presentation again. I'd like to offer thanks to Dave Nelson for digitizing my program as he did last year. And one thing I noted when I was going through this is that in many instances, the color schemes have not changed a whole lot in 20 years compared to if we'd gone back to 2003 and then back to 1983. The number of changes, of course, we only have so many class ones nowadays. But anyway, here we go. Okay. This is actually December 31st of 2002 at the Plainville, westbound with the standard cab SD 40-2 going through to Plainville heading west. Okay, here we're by the, looking the opposite direction towards Pewaukee. And this is train 288 taken on the, in January 11th of 2003. See the mile pole, or sorry, the speed board is still there. And fortunately, the speeds haven't changed any. This is a southbound on the on the Canadian National with Alstom leader SD 40-2 and a WC unit behind. Some of these leasers actually have ended up on the Aberdeen ACWR, Aberdeen, Carolina, and Western in North Carolina, and they've been painted up into their rather attractive green scheme. This again was on the 11th of January. This is at the Plainville, again heading southbound train 348. Not a whole lot different that you would see today. And it's still very busy through Waukesha. This is looking north on Barstow Street in the Carroll University campus, passing through the intersection. The Plainville, much the same, with a lot of run-through power. We still see CSX, and of course nowadays we're getting quite a bit of Kansas City Southern since the merger back in April. These cab units are no longer in operation on CN. This is at the north end of DuPlainville siding, heading southbound. Train 348 once again. At this is Lisbon Road. I said the beginning of DuPlainville siding, which runs approximately 3 miles from this location to milepost 102. In Pewaukee, the Empire Builder, number 7, it's now running approximately an hour later than when this one was taken. And they've also put in a fence, not on this side of the tracks, but on the north side of the tracks as part of a quiet zone endeavor. They received a grant from the government. Also, there was a lot of issues with trespassing, and that has basically been eliminated. We still have the Union Pacific operating on the line south of Watertown. This is in Jefferson, Wisconsin, heading southbound, February 6th of 2003. They still run down this way, but it's kind of services needed. And there's still rumors about them reopening the ethanol plant to rail traffic, but that remains to be seen. Here's another CN train with WC power. This is the SPFD at Lisbon Road, south of Lisbon Road. Another CN train coming through Waukesha heading southbound with UP power. I believe this might be a WPSX empty coal train heading southbound at Hartwell Avenue, milepost 98. Towards the end of March now, we have an annual event. A group has an annual event in part with the Durand 3 times a year slide video show. My friend in Michigan, Rick Byrne, who some of you may know, calls it Rail Camp, and we're at this time trying to plan a rail camp for 3 weeks from now, and we got issues with aging, believe it or not. The sand is running out of the hourglass for this event, for us anyway, but we do intend on meeting up in Durand to enjoy that program. This is at Dowagiac, Michigan, Amtrak Wolverine service, train 351. At this time, they were not going 110 miles an hour. One of the stops we made is at the Charlotte Southern, a short line off of the old Grand Trunk, now CN, and this was their dinner train parked, waiting for the evening to approach when they would be doing their dinner train operation. This was a Saturday before or actually the Saturday of the Durand show, and the Central Michigan train 770, I believe it was, made a southbound run, leaving its terminal about 7 in the morning, and good friend Bill Kleins would give me a call on the cell phone to say the train's out of the yard and on the way, so I would head north from Durand and encounter it along the way. This was at Montrose, Michigan, March 29th. Another view passing at the depot, still standing at Flushing, Michigan. So we had the show. This is the following day, heading back home to Wisconsin, and it was a bright sunny day, at least at this point, and we stopped again to get a better view of the 44 tonner that the Charlotte Southern operated. This is train 350 eastbound Wolverine service at Decatur. I believe at this time they were authorized 95. You see the area is fenced to the conductor's side of the unit. And I had the opportunity to ride this train several times, and they did get her up to 95 for most of the way from Michigan City area up to Battle Creek. Ann Arbor, I'm sorry. This is the Amtrak depot at Niles. It's a very exquisite ex-Michigan Central depot, and it is still in use for Amtrak service. And I believe they have facilities for rent if you wanted to host some sort of an event. And of course, there's frequent train service. Most of the trains stop there in both directions. They had just been working on the platform enhancement program, and there was still some tape up to prevent people from getting in trouble. This is train 351. I'm sorry, train 350. Yeah, I'm sorry, 351 going opposite direction. This unit is in shove mode, and sees a substantial consist. They also had a business class with food service in the front. Okay, this next view is a CSX train going through Michigan City, headed westbound. This would be south of the South Shore and also south of the Amtrak line. And the Amtrak 371 Pere Marquette does use this track presently, but there are some movements along to try and get that train onto the present Amtrak route through the north side of town. Okay, this is, hang on one. Yes, it's an NS train, eastbound coal train at Porter, Indiana, on the old New York Central main line. Back to Plainville with another train with CSX power headed west. This is train train 491. At least at that time, that was what the numbers are. They have been changed at least twice since then, and now we're doing a CPKC numbering system, and I'm not quite familiar with it yet. Okay, here we are on the CN headed southbound, train 340. The overhead bridge is Capitol Drive, a prime east-west roadway connecting Pewaukee with Milwaukee County. And it's not a good place to take pictures from, at least presently. At one time it was, so got to do something different. And this is property that is accessible without having to get into any trouble, and good place for an afternoon photo. This again is the same train in Waukesha. That's my retirement home down the road. And we're at Carroll Street, milepost 97.46. This actually was a through street at the time. It's now closed to vehicle traffic because it's very close to the Carroll campus, and there have been some incidents of trespassing and whatnot. So they went and obtained permission from the federal government to close the road down. So pedestrians only at this time, but it's still kind of a cool location in the early afternoon. This is the southbound, again, train 340 at Plainville, approximately milepost 102, headed southbound. Wisconsin and Southern, SD20, SD20s. And this is the Horicon Janesville train. It was called the HJ at the time, and it's been since given a number since Watco took the line over, and it might be train 4. Might be. 2-3? T3, I'm sorry. Here again, we have WC power on a southbound Canadian National train north of the Plainville on the siding. This area has become pretty well treed in over the last 20 years. So I personally do not bother going in at this location, but at this point it was a wide open shot headed southbound. Okay, the chapter had an outing at East Troy on May 10th. And this was the almost completely restored car 846 from the Milwaukee System Transport Company, but the old TM. And so we made several trips. We had also several cars, or at least 2 cars, that were in use on this one, the Milwaukee car and also the Minneapolis car. And those of you that intend to go with us on our proposed excursion, the day may be topped off at the ice cream store, which is right at the depot. Very pleasant place to end an evening or even an afternoon. Here both cars are on the what would call the Trent Tube Spur. At one time, the municipality of East Troy Railway had, I think, 2 customers on this line. maybe more, I don't know, but Trent Tube was the last customer, and they ceased using rail service, but the line was kept in service, and one of our more recent charters actually went to the absolute end of the line where we encountered a hornet's nest, which is another story. They brought out one of their freight motors, the L9, and it was quite nice that this was done. I don't believe they haul any freight nowadays, but this was car 24, former South Shore car, and in excellent condition. And cars like these are used on their dinner train, which we had a couple years ago and was an outstanding event. On the side, this is southbound train 131 on the Metro Electric line. A group of us went to the Science and Industry, which is right nearby, and we always take Metro from Fox Lake to Chicago, switch to the Metro Electric, and get off at 59th Street, saving parking and other bedlam and confusion. And 20 years ago, I could do that. Nowadays, I don't know. I haven't been brave enough to try. Okay, this is on the Adams line of the Union Pacific, former Northwestern Main Line, route of the 400 at North Lake, heading west. And this was May 25th of 2003. Just west of Pewaukee, Parkside Drive. Heading west is number 7. This is near where the CP had a wreck a couple years ago that Keith was able to use his drone to get some really cool shots. Here again, coming through Waukesha southbound, FDUP train with WC power. This didn't last all that long, a couple of years, and then most of this WC power was relegated to the scrap heap in some instances, and then some of these units were sold to other short lines. We still see plenty of IC power, even in IC colors these days, but these were two SD 40-2s, I believe, heading northbound close to milepost 105, north of DePlainville, actually in the now present village of Lisbon. They incorporated recently, heading north. Again, in Waukesha, this is quite close to the Carroll University campus. You can see the barrier across the road. This was one of the places that were closed off to vehicle traffic. A very weather-beaten cab ST 40-2 as a leader. Don't see too many of these days. This is at Cutler Street in Waukesha. WSOR again with former UP unit leading at White Rock Avenue. The houses off to the left are on property that was the former Wisconsin, the original Wisconsin Central shops. They were totally demolished and the area was made into a residential complex. Well, our daughter, who got married in 99 or 2000, was at Eielson Air Base in Alaska. And her husband at the time got a reassignment to Tinker Air Base in Oklahoma City. And so we had an opportunity to drive down and see her, because we hadn't seen her in several years, being in Alaska. And being a retired military person, we get privileges at military housing if available. And so we were at Leonard Wood, Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri, and they have a rather extensive operation because they've got a somewhat long line that connects with the old Frisco, now Burlington Northern Santa Fe. At the time, they had several SD7s on their roster. Now I believe they've got Jeep 40-3s. We haven't been there in quite a few years. But it was always a good stop in the afternoon when we arrived for our overnight stay, because complex face the sun properly. Well, here we got a nice patch job. The following day, we would head towards, I think it was Veneta, Oklahoma, where we would catch US 69 heading south and following the old Katy line. And this was a preferred southbound traffic Union Pacific operation. And at Pryor, Oklahoma, they had a small yard for local service. Pryor was generally our lunch stop on the way, so we'd go a little ways south and then stop and see what was on hand. And besides the patch job, we had a transfer caboose, probably used for a shoving platform. We haven't been down this way in a few years, and I don't know if Pryor is still a terminal for their local service or not. Here's another leased unit. Our daughter was living in Hera, Oklahoma. That was where they were able to obtain affordable housing. That was maybe 20 miles or 15 miles from Tinker Air Base. And Shawnee, Oklahoma was not too far from where she was. This is preserves Santa Fe Depot, and the Santa Fe no longer runs to Shawnee, Oklahoma. It's Arkansas and Oklahoma now runs on the track in town. And we stopped here and gave them a couple of artifacts for their museum and got a little bit of a tour, and it was a rather nice visit. They had a sharp-looking Santa Fe caboose on the property, recently delivered. And this is something that if you're headed down that way in Shawnee, you can make a stop and head into town, southwest side of town, and catch the Arkansas and Oklahoma. Now, these units are former Conrail, and they have no longer they're no longer in service. They acquired newer Jeeps, and quite an extensive operation using the old Rock Island Choctaw route to service the various customers. The line is not straight through from Memphis to Tucumcari. Much of Texas is no longer in service, but in Oklahoma they do run several segments. Here's another one of their units that was on hand. Very well maintained. I've been there maybe 5 times, and they always have immaculate power. This was old Woody caboose for the Rock Island. Again, this was in Choctaw, Oklahoma, a little bit east of Oklahoma City. Well, our visit was over with, and it was ready to head back home, and generally tried to head east on Interstate 40 to I believe it's Sallisaw, Oklahoma, where the KCS came down from the south, or from the south and north, and so we'd head up 59. This is in Decatur, Arkansas. The unit is still there. Might be a little bit faded, but a veteran of service on the KCS and in a Southern Bell original scheme. This is in see my notes here. Neosho, Missouri. My first visit to this location, Neosho, was in April of 1967. Actually, in the March of '67, when I was on my way to my first military assignment at Dice Air Force Base in Abilene, Texas, and stopped in at the depot and got a few switchers doing some work, and I was actually waiting for the train number 1 to come down, Southern Bell, which I was able to photograph. And nowadays, there's very little there to see. I don't believe it's a terminal anymore. I don't know if the depot still stands, but this was a SD-40-2 that was parked near a service building. 6509, let me just see what we got here. This is actually a Missouri and North Arkansas train. I believe it was an empty hopper train heading north. This is a former MOPAC line that the MNNA took over, and that's the only time I've seen a train on that line. Okay, BNSF train 2415. Let me see what we got here. This is at West Stratford, Missouri on June 18th. Rather colorful mixed bag of units on this train. This again is on the old Frisco. This is at Stewart, Illinois on the CNI. I believe it is the line, the old Twin Cities Zephyrs and Empire Builder North Coast Limited. Anyway, this is a northbound train headed up towards Rochelle. And a intermodal train coming the opposite direction with a that unit was recently released, I believe, 1023. It's painted up all nice with silver trucks and silver fuel tank. Anyway, a war bonnet unit trailing, heading south. Okay, we're back in local country. This is, Conomowoc, Wisconsin. The old Milwaukee Road Depot, which is now Maxim's Restaurant, a very fine place to dine, on the left. And this intersection is a real bucket of snakes. They've had several collisions here. Fortunately, no fatalities, but I'm aware of at least 3. I used to work in town and across from the depot, and we actually had a claim where pieces of a car ended up in a plumber's building. Stucco is not easy to replace, but anyway, traveling through town, it doesn't stop here today. Even today, it doesn't stop here, and they go through at 79 miles an hour. So, and it is a quiet zone, also. A little bit further west of the depot is former, I think it was a dairy processing plant. Anyway, the buildings are still in use. They don't get cars anymore, but the parking lot is big, and it's a great place to catch trains. And this is a westbound number 7 at Concord Road. That was July 1st. Whoops. Okay, unfortunately, earlier in that year, my mother-in-law passed away in April, and family decided to have a memorial service in Colorado near Loveland in July. So we made a road trip west to Johnstown, stayed there in another relative's residence, and so we made kind of a road trip out of it. And so there's going to be quite a bit of activity here on the Union Pacific. This first photo is at Mechanicsville on July 3rd. The Union Pacific, businesses along the Union Pacific went from switching by the Union Pacific to acquiring their own units. And almost every town that has an elevator has a local unit to do that work. We did not stop at all of them, so you don't have to worry about that. Anyway, this is a unit at Beaver, Iowa, 2088, at Jefferson, Iowa, at Trans Global Rail, another grain operator. The 2439 is at West Side, Iowa. This is still on former Northwestern trackage. Okay, the 2002 is Cargill Horizon at Wood River, Nebraska. Again, this is on the 4th of July. The 1051 at Shelton, Nebraska, an Alco switcher. 5976 is at Odessa, Nebraska, eastbound. The 7121, again eastbound at Lexington, Nebraska. At a lot of these locations, especially where they did triple track, I don't know if the Union Pacific obtained grants, but they've made it such that with the increased traffic, they put a highway bridge over the triple track right away, and also a pedestrian overpass. It's a rather extensive infrastructure, and I don't know how many people are willing to climb all the stairs to get up to the top and then exit going down the stairs, but it's rather impressive. But a lot of these small towns are actually fenced off from the right of way. Here's an old Montana Rail Link 612 at the Bruce Grain, also in Lexington, and that one's still there. The Bruce Grain again at Lexington. This was the local unit for switching industries that didn't have their own unit. But this was the only place where I found a Jeep 38 or whatever it is. Of 65, 67. Is it Gothenburg? Farmlands Service Corp. Unit formerly Santa Fe. Number 1. 6760 is at Brady, between Brady and Maxwell. And here we have 2 trains at Ogallala, Nebraska, both heading west. Omnitrax Leasing, this was in this was at Kellam, Colorado on the 5th. This was the day of our service. And we were kind of early, and I saw there were 2 units, and I said, I'm going to go get a couple pictures. Well, I went to the rear step of the unit, and it was a rattlesnake. Yeah. Yeah, fortunately, I didn't have to get taken to the hospital. Okay, this is now day following. This is at LaSalle, Colorado, and that's a train to Fort Collins. Branch line service. This was 2306. Was again near LaSalle. The 4643 is southbound at Evans, Colorado. We were heading towards Denver. 4926 at Nunn, Colorado, and we're actually heading back to Wisconsin finally. 4097 at Bushnell, Nebraska. Elevators in the background. This was at a time when the UP had received their vast quantity of SD70Ms, and so they were prime power on many of the trains that we saw, as you see here. Again, westbound at Bushnell. There were like 2 or 3, one right behind the other. High Plains Co-op at Kimball, Nebraska. And I've stopped by at this location maybe 3 times over the years, and the same unit has been there. Okay, this is at Lodgepole, kind of a different area because there's quite a few pine trees, obviously lodgepole pines, whereas in other areas, areas devoid of trees. This is near Chapel, Nebraska. Farmers Elevator Corp., Chapel, Nebraska. This is this is at Brule heading eastbound. Here you can see again one of those infrastructure projects to get the people off the tracks, both pedestrian and vehicle. This is at Ogallala. Okay, the 6272 is headed eastbound near Hershey, actually west of Hershey, and it's going underneath a bridge which takes coal train traffic to the Gerald, I believe it's Gentleman Power Plant, south of the main line. And I tried getting some information tonight on this power plant, and it's still taking coal, and it's the lowest production cost coal plant in the United States. Very technology oriented. Didn't see any trains going over the top, but made kind of an interesting photo nonetheless. Here it is again at, this is actually at Hershey. Getting close to North Platte. 59-980 again at Hershey, another eastbound coal train. And this Maywood Co-op is in North Platte. I did not go to the visitor center, and we were kind of with a schedule to get home, so we didn't dally around too much at North Platte. Here's a local train at Lexington again. That same, I think we had that 8:30 before. This one isn't going too far. All boarded up. SW1 to Bruce Grain. 6881 at Elm Creek, loaded coal train. And this is at Gibbon, beginning of the triple track stretch, headed east. 5931, again at Gibbon. This one's going west. And 4379, again westbound at Shelton. Truss Bridge, local train at Wood River. Another cool elevator, grain elevator. And this is actually at Cairo, Nebraska on the BNSF coal line. I went up to the locomotive, talked to the crew, and they said, well, the place to go is Ravenna. There's 9 trains ahead of us. 9 trains. And it was a single track line, and that was quite a impressive total. So anyway, I went to Ravenna. I'm not going to show all 9 trains, fortunately for you. But anyway, this is from the overhead bridge that serves the crew people. At this point in time, Ravenna was a crew change location. It is no longer that. They run all the way to Alliance from Lincoln. But anyway, trains came in and trains left. This was one of the few manifest trains that I saw. 4481. Let's see where we are here. It was westbound at Ravenna. I went out of town a little ways to get a different view. And here's the 4999. I believe this is the one that one of the ones that I saw earlier. And this is the one that I talked to the guys at Cairo. They finally made it to the point where they were getting off their train, and it was just about getting dark. Okay, following day, this is at Clarks, Nebraska, not too far from Columbus. Here's the Platte Valley Grain Terminal, and they've got a little switcher there, former Northwestern, and it's still there today, and they haven't painted it since. I think it's moved since this photo 20 years ago, but it is greatly faded. But anyway, a Northwestern unit. Let's see here. This is at Duncan, Nebraska. eastbound. And at North Bend is the 473, and that one's still there. Also, we just went through there last October, and ex-Belt Railway of Chicago, GP7. This is in Fremont, eastbound hopper car, grain train passing through just before the depot. Quite busy line too. Okay, this is 5020 is westbound at Missouri Valley, Iowa, former Northwestern Territory. And trains do not stop in Missouri Valley as often as they did in the old days, but it's still a very busy location. This is at Marshalltown, heading west, the old depot in the background. Okay, now another day, a group of us on the 19th of July went and did some train chasing photography in and around Metro Chicago. This is on the southeast side of the city. Two switchers standing by, waiting to go to work. We haven't seen enough Union Pacific, but this is actually a Norfolk Southern eastbound at Hammond. Full empties. The J train at Griffith, and this was actually the true, not fake imitation Elgin, Joliet, and Eastern that had yet to be taken over by CN. Harbor Belt train at Dalton, heading east with some rather new Jeep 38-2 on the point, an attractive paint scheme. Now CSX train with the BNSF leader coming out of Bar Yard, heading east. At Blue Island Crossing, CSX southbound train. This is at Broadway Avenue. It's public property. As long as you don't stray and get messed up on company property, you're in good shape. And I believe that there are 8 tracks that cross Broadway Avenue. And sometimes the vehicle drivers have to sit there a while, especially if they're in between two tracks. I think it's an 8-track crossing. This is in Berwyn, Illinois, westbound on the triple track main line, coming out of downtown. And this train is actually coming out of the yard there at Cicero. Amtrak Southwest Chief at Berwyn. The overhead bridge way in the background is the former Illinois Central, now Canadian National line. That was the Iowa line for the IC. River Grove, this is on the Milwaukee West line. This is afternoon time, and you see a Canadian CP train off to the right, and we're actually on a middle platform here, and trains came by, not all of them stopped, and you had to actually get down towards the ground to not get blown away or swept into the train itself. And at one point in time, there was a situation where a child was sucked into a train and it didn't stop there, and had a fatality a number of years ago. And so that brought about some changes. So I don't believe this middle platform is there now. Same location, inbound on the right in push mode, and outbound, and this has actually got the Milwaukee District West and the line that goes up to Antioch also comes through here. Here's that local now passing by. Outbound train. And I don't recall if the one on the left stopped or not, but you can see how tight that clearance is. And I was actually kneeling on the ground, so I would not get sucked into it. into the train on the left. Well, I guess that train did stop, but there were several that didn't. Okay, this is 6061 at Portage, headed east, Portage, Wisconsin. And this is a 3025 east at Augusta, Wisconsin on the old Adams line. This is just southeast of Eau Claire. Nowadays, there's just one manifest train between Altoona, Adams, and Milwaukee. This is at Altoona Yard. Our daughter, or not at the time, but anyway, we had reason to visit the area, and a stop at Altoona was always something on our list. The 4202 at Davis Junction on the IC&E, Iowa, Chicago, and Eastern. Now it's September 20th. We were making a train chasing trip out towards Iowa. This is at Savannah, IC&E leased unit, tunnel motor, and it's occupying the BNSF crossing. Here's a B. You can see the river in the background. This is an eastbound intermodal train on the BNSF. White face unit in front. Okay, this is Clinton, Iowa, westbound, taken from the overhead bridge for vehicles and pedestrians. I believe I used a ladder to get over the fence. Okay, this is a southbounder on the IC&E. This is now CPKC, and allegedly going to be busy, much busier than what we see here. This particular train was at Princeton, Iowa, heading south. And we were able to get by it, and this is at LeClaire, Iowa. Nice old building off to the left at milepost 178. This is in Clinton again, I believe 5104 westbound, and a lot of infrastructure work has been done in this area. The old Northwestern shops are long gone, and a lot of green space has been put up, and housing torn down, and places you could get into are no longer possible in the last 20 years. This is at a place called Bluffs, and it's the BNSF line from Savannah down towards Galesburg, on top in the Northwestern Union Pacific main line below. And there are quite a number of trains on the BNSF, but getting one is, you have to be there at the right time, and I've never gotten an over-under. This is 2995. Let's see where we are, my notes here. This is at east of Bluffs at Morrison, Illinois. The lead units, this is actually the proviso to Council Bluffs manifest train. And most of I think all those locomotives are ex-Chicago Northwestern, 2900s and low 3000s. And they're long gone, but it was nice to see standard cab units. 3952 is also at Morrison, out of town, just a little ways to the east, and meeting a coal train. 5043 at Agnew. '7117. This is now November 14th. This is at Walkerton, Indiana, CSX eastbound. This is an eastbound on the on the old NYC, Norfolk Southern, and that's a Waterloo main passenger station for Amtrak. That contraption on the left, or on the right rather, and not much of a shelter. 5400 again at Waterloo, headed westbound. '9443 was going eastbound. And here we have Amtrak, one of the mail trains of the day. This is the Three Rivers, detoured off of the CSX to the NS. So it was running about 6 hours late. And of course, you have a crew change point, and I don't think there were any passengers that got on or off, but you can see the sleeping car and a couple coaches and a bunch of mail towards the back. And got over to the Indiana Northeastern. Let's see here. At Eden, Ohio. The Indiana Northeastern is a rather successful short line that operates some ex-Wabash track in this location anyway. Their main connection is at Montpelier, Ohio with the NS, but they go from there west towards Milford, and then they also go up into Michigan. They were recently featured in an article by Steve Smedley in one of the recent Trains magazines, and we hope to visit them in 3 weeks to get them involved with Operation Lifesaver in Michigan. It's now this is the 27th of September, or I'm sorry, 27th of December, on the IHB near Holman Avenue in Chicago. Same IHB operation in Indiana. I had gone down to Metro Chicago to pick up my father-in-law at Midway Airport because he was going to take a trip with us out to visit our son in California. Here's an IHB train again with older power. And here we're on the CSX at Clark Road in Gary, Indiana. And this is a safe part of Gary, Indiana. The parking lot to the right is CSX. The main line to the left is NS, and the CSX, of course, is where this train with the 150 is. It is the Lakeshore Limited, running about 9 hours late, and they got sidetracked and put on the CSX, kind of like a swap for the other one we saw earlier. And they did have a crew change point here. There's a issue whether or not you're trespassing, and the CSX guys were pretty cool about it. But there's an easement between the NS and the CSX for one car. So if you park there, I don't think they can mess with you. But that's the good news. The bad news is that during the weekdays and Saturdays, there's a ton of trucks that go back and forth. So you probably end up getting your car smashed into. But anyway, this was, probably haven't been back to Clark Road since I took this picture 20 years ago. But it's still a rather busy location. Anybody with a drone could probably get better luck than I had. Okay, so we did go to visit our son in San Jose, California. His residence was like 3 blocks from the main train station on the south side of town, Diridon Station, I believe that's how you say it. So they get Amtrak California. This was a Capital Corridor, I believe, and they also have the Caltrain. Well, Caltrain, I guess now is going to be electrified. I haven't been back to that area since they moved in 2004 to Michigan, but I always made it a point to get over to the depot any time of the day, mostly in the afternoon for train photos. Here's an example of one of the Caltrain with their newer power at the time, MP36, I believe these are. Some of the older F40 powered units. They also have the Altamont Commuter Express. At the time, it was 3 trains each way daily. And here they are getting ready to board to head back to their home terminal. This was the southbound Amtrak train from Seattle, Coast Starlight. Running a little bit late with a 500, which I guess we're seeing these going through our area nowadays. You can see the 917 is on its way. I believe this was a train heading out, but note the sign, the old Southern Pacific Herald is still on the infrastructure for this overhead bridge. Here's a Capital Corridor train laying over for 15, 20 minutes before heading back. Never had any problem taking photos here. People were very cordial. Here both are side by side. Here we have one of the newer units, and 666 was actually a train number. I believe this was like a didn't carry any passengers. And the trains with the F-40s had placards beside each conductor's side and also the engineer's side with a train number affixed. So, as we see the final run of the City of Everywhere in Ogden, Utah, this ends yet another edition of 20 years ago. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Tom, for that presentation, and we're gonna stop sharing the screen, and then if anybody has any questions of Tom in the room, we have 16 people in the room now, so it doesn't look like there's any questions. If you're in the Zoom room, Tom is here. You can unmute yourself and ask away.
Good selection of stuff, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hope I can do as well next month.
I'm sure you will. Thanks much, folks.
Okay, Tom, thank you very much. And so again, thanks for joining. I know a lot of times we have a after party or afterglow, whatever you wish to call it. See how I got in my lower, very white voice to say that. So if Ward or Mike or someone wants to run that, otherwise, that's all we have. Like I said, we have 16 people here in the room, and I want to thank you all again for joining us for the March 1st chapter meeting of the NRHS Wisconsin chapter. So again, we're looking forward to August, and maybe put that date, August 24th, in your calendar if you can make it. And we'll have some other events coming up, and we're still working on the 75th anniversary. We've got some logos bouncing around, and we'll get things going there. So with that, those of you in the room, feel free to take another treat, because otherwise the person who remains nameless has to take them home, and he doesn't need any more. So, but again, enjoy your evening, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thank you very much for joining in.